The FBI is investigating the Idaho Correctional Center after it turns out that a number of inmates have been complaining about how there aren't enough correctional officers there and they're being replaced by gang members. So this is a really fascinating story that broke a few years ago, and the state started investigating the facility. And I should note that this is a private prison. It's run by Corrections Corporation of America. And among the allegations is that this huge facility in Idaho, it's actually the largest prison in the state, decided that they are going to understaff the officers there and instead put leading gang members in the same cells so they can basically counterbalance one another. So CCA had understaffed the prison by up to 26,000 hours in 2012, although the company disputes the findings. The ACLU sued the prison company in 2010 on behalf of the employees, who said the facility was so violent that inmates called it Gladiator School, and the suit blamed the violence on chronic understaffing. The company also agreed last month to pay $1 million to Idaho, which pays Corrections Corporation of America $29 million a year to settle understaffing claims. Now, just stop right there. $29 million a year, and that's taxpayer dollars for a private institution.
Okay, we've got to stop this madness. Private prisons, now think about it. They're for profit, so they're going to want to do what? Maximize profit. Now, how do you maximize profit? One of the ways that you do it is you cut expenses. In this case, guards are expenses. So, but what do they care if the prisoners rip each other to shreds? They don't give a damn. What do they care if the gangs run the prison? They're a for-profit company. They're not paid to care about that. Their whole fiduciary responsibility is to maximize profits. So of course they're going to do this. We cannot give away core duties of the government. There are many things you can privatize, but the core duties to protect the citizens cannot be given away. So when you privatize it, well, of course they're going to play favorites. Of course they're going to do all the things that you're talking about. It's like privatizing the cops. Gee, I wonder, will they protect the people who pay them the most? Of course they will.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, because one thing that they do is they cherry pick the type of inmates that they'll bring in. So they'll bring in inmates that are healthy, it won't cost a lot of money to house them, and at the same time they'll ensure that they're nonviolent offenders, so they don't have to spend a lot of money or a lot of time making sure that violent things don't happen. Although in this particular case, they would put rival gang members in the same cell, which is absolutely crazy. And another thing is, look, they're going to push for legislation that will continue things like the war on drugs, right? So they can have like a steady flow of inmates come into their institution, taxpayers will pay for their institution, and it doesn't really do much to rehabilitate people because you don't have to abide by the same standards that state-run facilities have to abide by. You don't have the same rules. Just to give you an example, in 5 years, Corrections Corporation of America has been sued at least 279 times.
Come on, man. Look, we have 2 million Americans in prison today. We blow away every other country on a per capita basis. It's not even close. The Chinese, the Saudis, the Iranians, all these, the Russians, they all look absolutely liberal compared to us in terms of how many people we imprison. Why? Because we created a profit motive to imprison people. All of these private prisons should be shut down and converted into government-run prisons, because we can't outsource this. It's an absolute outrage. Even if you're not outraged by the Gladiator situation they set up in that prison, or that they're run by gangs, etc., you've got to be outraged at least that we've motivated our cops, our prosecutors, our politicians, and our prisons to create more prisoners.
Exactly.
Will innocent people wind up in prison because of that? Obviously they will. And then they get thrown into this gladiator nonsense.
I mean, just look at what happened to our prison population after the 1980s. The 1980s is when the majority of these for-profit prisons started popping up, and then all of a sudden, you see that the prison population jumped significantly. It's because they work with organizations like ALEC to push tough on crime legislation. So that's why the majority of people that are behind bars right now are there for drug-related offenses and nonviolent property crimes.
And the one thing that you can't go to jail for, thanks to ALEC, is standing your ground and killing people.
It's crazy.
You can go to jail for everything else. I mean, we got that pipeline to send you into that chain gang, no problem. But, you know, if you go pick a fight with somebody and they fight back and you shoot them in the head, you're free to go. And then, so again, going back to Ray Jasper's letter, so when he walked into the prison, he said he's never seen a place that black in his life. Okay, and he obviously grew up being black, right? But he grew up in Berkeley. He's like, I've never seen anything like that. Because the system is set up to take those kids who are disadvantaged and provide a pipeline into modern day slavery. And then meanwhile, you know, if white people shoot black people in Florida, stand your ground. What could you do?